Hello, this is the Monotone Centrist, and previously I made a video about Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter, and which one's the, I guess, right side of things, and that was kind of like a remastered version of my old video that I didn't think I explained that much, and I didn't touch on why I don't really side on why All Lives Matter. And I thought I'd follow up with that with this particular video of basically it's just in kind of like in retaliation to Black Lives Matter. That's the number one thing. Even that, I think that's a fine thing to do. That's perfectly fine to protest, like counter protest the Black Lives Matter with All Lives Matter. And that's a huge thing as like I don't like about the whole thing. It's just into our response or to counter protest or just piss off the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, while I agree with both of these notions, honestly, I don't see why people can't say they support both. I guess you have to pick one side or other, or I guess you're fucked. Either way. Also, it in a way it kind of divides people still. The Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter. It's still kind of dividing, even though All Lives Matter would you would think encompasses all lives. That makes sense, doesn't it? But since it's mainly for the use of just counter protesting or just pissing off the Black Lives Matter movement, I don't see it achieving its purpose. A lot of people, I don't think, really believe in the All Lives Matter. They just say it into the response to counter protest. While that's a fine thing to do, that you're perfectly welcome to do so, I just it still creates that divide. It doesn't bring everyone together. And unfortunately, I don't think there's a phrase or like a movement that could really fucking do that. To be very honest, I said everyone lives matters or everybody matters. I know that's a little bit semantics of all lives matter, but it's just I don't know. To me, that sounds a little bit better. But that doesn't sound like dividing, and it doesn't sound like I'm counter protesting Black Lives Matter or I'm just saying it to piss people off. I'm just trying to include everybody in here. And that's another thing I don't like about the movement either. It's just like, well, it's not, you know, I guess bringing us together to solve an issue, and just using it for a counter protest or, I guess, just to piss off the Black Lives Matter movement isn't really part of the solution. And if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I think both of these organizations are kind of, or not, I guess organization. I don't think All Lives Matter is an organization. Is part of the solution, and they're part of the problem. The bigger picture of the problem. And if we focus on skin color way too much, we actually might actually miss the point of the whole these movements to correct some of the police actions. Like everyone thinks it's about race or a skin color, and if we focus on that too much, we may actually miss what that needs to be fixed. It could be something completely different other than it's racism or systematic racism or whatever it may be. We could miss the mark and focus on way too much on color and not fix the problem. And that's why they don't really 100% back all the lives matter is also because it's not a solution to any of these problems that the police have, seemingly have, with just the general public at large, just not the particular color person. So that's major my two problems. I know this is not going to be as long as the Black Lives Matter kind of thing because I don't believe they have as many as problems as Black Lives. I don't see. Well, I kind of do see some of the All Lives Matter, like clashing with the Black Lives protesting. Not very many. There's not a whole lot of videos out there, but it does happen. Even if those you can quote unquote say it's an outlier, it still happens, and none of these two parties really behave in a manner where it's really acceptable. Maybe All Lives Matter does have a little bit more of a sense to not to, I guess, engage in such activities as looting and rioting and stuff like that, but they're not really helping the situation. Sometimes they kind of pour more gasoline on the fire. Hyperbole, they kind of inflame, fan the flames of the division here. And I don't agree with that 100% either, even though that may be just a huge outlier of, the particular group. I just don't approve of that. I just think we need to have some kind of, even though I don't think it's possible, some kind of middle ground here where something actually is be done about some of the police actions. I think some of them are justified, some of them are not, and come to that we need to hold some of these police officers to a higher standard and actually punish some of the ones that actually go and break the law. A lot of them don't, but some do, and we need to punish those who do. And that's the problem with it. Like I see here, people want to overreach that, and even though the police officer seems 100% in the right in self-defense, it still seems like they want these police officers to be arrested and charged with something, even though it's extremely hard to do so. So it's just a very interesting thing between these two particular groups that I don't particularly like. I know I wish I had a little bit more criticisms towards the All Lives Matter, but those are basically the things that I don't like about the group. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening. Rate, comment, and subscribe.